We are continuing to follow Saturday's storm, that hailstorm that blew through the area here in York County, specifically Rock Hill. And then, of course, once the daylight is upon us, we're getting a really good survey of how much damage was done in our community. We have Chuck Haynes. He's the director of the York County Office of Emergency Management, joining us here on Palmetto Mornings. And good morning to you, Chuck.
Morning.
Thank you so much for your time. I can only imagine the amount of sleep you've received over the last 24, 48 hours. Chuck, this storm seemed to, at least to us as a commoner, seemed to have just come out of nowhere. What was it like for you all there at the Office of Emergency Management on Saturday?
Well, I guess initially shocked, to be honest with you. We pay attention to the weather, obviously. And, we thought going into Saturday, smooth sailing. We thought, some rain on Sunday and, all good. And then obviously, I guess at 3 o'clock time frame, we started getting some heads up from the National Weather Service that something looked like it was kind of starting. and it wasn't until that kind of 4 o'clock time frame that it really got together. And then, not only did it get itself together, it was able to create that amount of hail and wind and severe damage that it created. In speaking with the National Weather Service, even Saturday, the forecaster over there who actually issued the warnings said that in his 20 years, he had never seen anything like this. And in fact, he's going to be here today because he wants to learn more about it.
Do we know what exactly happened? I've heard a tornado, a downburst, and a microburst.
And then what the difference is, like what actually happened?
Yeah. So in speaking to them, and I am not the scientist in that realm, but they are coming today, and so they don't make an absolute determination on what happened until they come and put their eyes on the evidence and that kind of thing, and they will overlap what they saw on the computers to what they see on the ground, and then say, okay, this was, let's just say, it was a tornado, and it was a EF1 or 2 or whatever that may be. There's also a microburst and a macroburst, and when cold air goes way up in the sky and mixes with warm air and all that clashes, eventually all that just dumps down to the ground, and it's sort of like pouring water out of a pitcher. It has to hit somewhere, and when it comes down to the ground, it kind of acts like liquid. It hits and rolls out, and so you have wind coming out. Now that's what we call straight line wind. And then obviously tornado goes in a circle. So they'll come and look at the damage, look at trees, how they fell, what direction they were pointing, what side of the house was the damage on. Was it on all sides of the house or just one side of the house? And so they are trained to look at all that and put all the pieces together. And they'll actually come out and issue a report and say, hey, this is what it was and this is what we learned from it, and, that kind of thing. So it'll be interesting for everyone, including us.
Knew I should have paid attention in science class when we were talking about this kind of stuff, for sure. Chuck Haynes.
You kind of glazed over there for a little while.
Chuck Haynes is the director of York County Emergency Management. I guess, Chuck, one good thing is that I haven't heard of any kind of major injuries to people. Is that correct to your knowledge as well?
Yeah, so there were injuries and there were challenges during the storm getting resources out to just normal calls. Ambulances, fire trucks, police cars, they can't drive in that stuff. You've seen the videos. You couldn't see at all. So, those folks had to stop and find coverage and safety for themselves. And so we did have some extended delays or extended times in getting some calls answered, and we had to prioritize some calls, and so there were some delays on some lower acuity type calls. We had some help from outside of the county and outside of not only York County, but kind of other folks from nonprofits and folks like that who come in to help us. So this is definitely a isolated incident here in York County and Rock Hill, City of York, those areas. But a lot of people stopped what they were doing on Saturday and came to help. And so not only locally, but, from around the area. So, and we appreciate that.
Well, considering what we had going on this past weekend, you had so many people out there at Winthrop Lake for Come See Me, and they were told to seek shelter, then they could go back and seek shelter again. The fact that we didn't have any serious injuries or death is pretty remarkable considering the damage that we have seen with our own eyes in this community.
Yeah, the special events, when there's not a shelter location, it's always a challenge for those putting on the event. And if you've been a part of a special event like that, it causes a lot of stress to those who are making the decisions on what to do. Nobody wants to call off an event. Nobody wants to not have the fireworks. I mean, honestly, I was planning on going to the fireworks that night. I didn't make it, but and I know it was completely canceled. But the fact that people were told to leave for their safety, they left, and everyone was safe, and there were no injuries at that venue and throughout the county. That was pretty big.
Well, again, it's going to be an interesting next couple of days as we continue to clean up the storm. We'll be all interested to see exactly what took place here Saturday, specifically in Rock Hill, and we'll pay close attention to that information and, of course, pass it along to you. Chuck Haynes, again, is the director for the Office of York County Emergency Management.